Jerry, our own Jerry, not the other Jerry, our own Jerry Yang.
Thank you, Chris. Good afternoon, my name is Jerry Yan, and so I just flew into Seoul this morning from Paris, where I'm based. So I touched down at 7:30 in the morning. At this age, I turned 49 this year. At this age, I don't pretend I can manage jet lag anymore. So if I fell asleep throughout this presentation, Chris just knocked me on the head and wake me up. Yeah, so I'm a partner at, general partner at HCVC. We're a Paris-based early stage deep tech venture capital firm with offices in London and San Francisco. Our thesis is very simple, as you see on the screen. So we back frontier scientists to build foundational industries. I'm going to spend 2 to 3 minutes to introduce our firm a little bit. You know, it's always about shameless self-plug. This is the partnership, so you'll see me. So my background was semiconductor, so I came from Taiwan, spent 12 years designing chips. Actually, the last time I was in Korea was 18 years ago when I was a founder. I was developing display chipsets back then. I came to Suwon and went to Gumi trying to persuade Samsung and LG to buy my chips. That was a long time ago. That was before smartphone, before mobile internet. So I was like moving around in trains, and it was a good old days. Then I moved to Silicon Valley and worked for a wireless chipset company that got acquired by Qualcomm. Left Qualcomm in 2012 and moved to Paris and met my partner Alexis, the second gentleman from the left, and joined him officially. We've been working together for 10 years. We got Emery Cornat, a fellow Frenchman, French-American who grew up in the United States on the right that joined us. He had 20 years corporate venture experiences before joining us in 2017. The latest to join us is Alexander Flamon, the young Mexican, French, Canadian, English. I don't even know what his nationality anymore. He's based in London for us. It's done a pretty good investment for us. I'm not going to go through the other team members, but specifically the second on the right, you might recognize his face. So Sihia Pitapu used to be the Renault F1 team principal. He's now our biggest connection with Korea, which is he's the basically FIA Motorsport team president for Hyundai. Obviously won't go through the entire LP base, but Isomer is here. So our LP base is quite unique as a European fund. We have a global LP base from Europe, from the United States, from Japan, Taiwan, Singapore. We don't have any Korean LP yet, but we do have one born Korean entrepreneur that was an LP. So you probably will see Taizo Song over there. I believe the Korean name is Sang Tae-jang, which is the younger brother of Masashi Song. He was actually our first LP backing us with Misoto from Japan. We also have all kinds of LPs from family offices, fund of funds, foundation, sovereign funds, high net worth individuals. So it's quite a broad LP base across the whole world. I'll just probably put 2 or 3 of our companies on the map, and the first one I want to talk about is probably our biggest exit so far in the first fund. We invest in both in Europe and United States, early stage deep tech, and this one is specifically a New York one. We backed the company together with Lux Capital, with first round capital, and then they got backing from Lux Capital. So Masayoshi tried to come in to lead a Series C, but eventually it got acquired by Instacart, and then got an exit. It was a $350 million exit back then. The second company is called Augmenta. It's a European company based in Greece, so you'd be surprised that you can actually achieve a good exit as a Greek company instead of just doing cheese. So they're working on the IoT kind of sensor for agricultural farmers. I believe they were still the largest exit in that sector, so $110 million in cash acquired by CNH Industrial, basically the competitor to John Deere. And we invest in this deal with Marathon Ventures, local Greek fund. The third one is an investment we did about 1.5 years ago. It's a Korean founder, but he actually, I'm going to come back to this point at the end of my speech about deep tech, potential of deep tech investment in Korea. But this is a good example to connect to that. So Seoul is actually based in Zurich. He got his PhD at ETH, which is one of the top engineering schools in Europe, and co-founded this company called Caronero that produced a machine that can mass manufacture carbon nanotube. So through our interest, they are now working with TSMC on the potentially the next 10, 20 years of generation of transistors based on carbon nanotubes. We co-invest in this company with Wonderful. So my topic today, there's going to be a little bit overlap with friend from Amadeus Capital, because we're talking about Europe, but specifically also talking about deep tech. I think a lot of people have questioned about how do you define deep tech, right? So deep tech, I'm not going to invent it. I'm going to leverage heavily a report created by one of our friends, so by Lexstar, and based on theorem data in Europe. So they created this report earlier this year. I think they have much better data than I do, so I'm going to leverage quite a bit of that. In the report, it defined deep tech as novel scientific or engineering breakthroughs that is going to make its way into the products and companies for the first time. But that still doesn't really tell us what is deep tech. Is internet deep tech? Is AI deep tech? So a better way to see is that everything is deep tech when it first came out, until it became mainstream, became commodity, and became a fundamental part that everybody take for granted. And so you can see here, obviously, in the early 20th century, you can say that internal combustion engines, so Ford, General Motors, those are the early entrepreneurs that were building breakthrough technologies, and also the chemistry and electricity. Then you move into petroleum, and then you go into digital network, internet, software, biotech in the late 90s and early 2000s. Now we have a new mega wave headlined by AI, but there's also all kinds of like computational biology that gentleman here mentioned as well, and robotics, new generation of robotics. So bottom line is that there's a bit of like after the fact, you'll see that that was a deep tech when the wave first came out. But as investors, our job is to find those early signs and bet on the best companies. My own way of framing it, this is my own way. So especially the last cycle that we just went through that ended in 2022 when Federal Reserve started to raise the interest rate. So between 2008 to 2022, post-financial crisis, there was a good decade of like financial returns from SaaS companies, crypto company, and fintech. During those times, you hear a lot of like buzzwords like network effect, UI, US, connected, digitization, automation, decentralization, tokenization. I don't know how many people should use that term anymore. Zero marginal cost. So those are the buzzwords that you see, at least as an investor, you see like 1,000 times per year in all the decks. From 2022, when the bubble of SaaS and fintech bursted, and crypto in some sense, now that the past couple of years, the buzzword has been large language model, AGI agents, whatever AI terms you slash on it. Sovereignty, which is actually a big topic in Europe as well, and dual use, defense tech, resilience, all kinds of resilience, cybersecurity, computational technology, including biotech, longevity, and zero carbon. So kind of give you a feeling as an investor what kind of the keywords that people are talking about, what kinds of keywords already are outdated. This is taken from the report that Lexstar and theorem created. So one of the perceptions about deep tech is that it takes a lot of money to develop them, and then therefore you have lower return. Take these numbers with a grain of salt. It was created to promote deep tech, so obviously it's going to show the bright side. But it is on the minimum, on the basic scale, it wouldn't be worse than SaaS or fintech investment in general. That's what the report was trying to argue for. So here you can see that actually throughout different stages, the efficiency, capital efficiency of the deep tech investment is not worse than the generalist investment, sometimes even better. Again, take it with a grain of salt. I mean, we always create reports that benefit ourselves, but just to give you a picture, it's not a night and day difference. So it shouldn't be a reason why you should or shouldn't invest in deep tech. Return potential as well. IRR is probably one of the most unreliable numbers, but then again, you can see that in IRR, unrealized IRR is actually, in some cases, deep tech investment is actually better than the generic like SaaS investment from the previous quarter. Again, there's always time scale mismatch, different period, different time, different fund size, different geography. So those are also, so the report, by the way, is free to download to go on the internet. Just Google for the European deep tech report by Lexstar and you'll find it. So I'm based in Paris. I've been living in Paris for 13 years. I'm also naturalized a French citizen. with my semiconductor background, so people have always been asking me, so why are you doing investment in Europe, especially as an Asian guy? You should be opening a restaurant in Europe. So Europe has always had a very wide range of like research institutes, as actually some of the gentlemen here already talk about, right? So that's something that actually outside of Europe, it was not that well known. I think most of the people outside of Europe know probably the schools in UK, like Oxford or Cambridge, but outside of that, when I mentioned ETH, most of you probably never heard about that, but it's actually the top engineering school. It's basically the Caltech or MIT of Europe. Only the smartest guy can get into it, and also generated a lot of entrepreneurs over the past decade. Also, over the past, so I've been living there for 13 years, doing investment for more than 10 years now. The biggest change that I've observed with firsthand is basically more and more people by default become entrepreneurs. They used to graduate and try to go to the United States or join big companies, but more and more stay and start their own companies or join startups locally. So that's also something that happened very dramatically. Very quickly, so some of the schools already, our friends here listed in the previous report. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I mentioned a few schools here. There's still challenges. So growth capital and exits, and hope that our friend Hazel here can answer the question. Growth capital today, we still rely very heavily on growth fund investors from Europe, but that's changing now. We're seeing some growth stage deep tech investment coming from European investors. Exits, so really large exits are still kind of like something that people have been looking for, but hopefully it will come in the coming years. I was asked to actually talk a little bit about the, can I go back? Yeah, so I talked, because my background in semiconductors, I thought it would be relevant, especially in the country of like Samsung, SK Hynix, and as well as LG. So for a lot of people also, semiconductor in Europe is kind of a vague idea, right? So you don't have Intel, you don't have TSMC, what do you have? Actually, there are a lot of semiconductor activities in Europe. Just last week, there was a big event run by IMAC, which is a research institute of specific for semiconductor based in Belgium. They run this annual event, which is a very good event. If you're interested in semiconductor, you should definitely join the event. It's usually in May every year. And then there's the research institute in France, so CEN, CNRS, the two schools in Switzerland, ETH, EPFL, German research institute, Fraunhofer, Max Planck, CSM, and TUM, and also our two very, very good universities in UK, University of Cambridge and Oxford. Obviously, Bristol is a very good one. So those are where we find the best semiconductor founders that come out to create companies. But specifically, what are they doing today? Obviously, they're not creating. So I used to be an ASIC founder, so building chips, selling them. It's a very, very stupid business, very difficult to generate revenue, very low valuation when you do the exit. So I did sell the company, but it's not a very good multiple. But the new generation that got us excited, they're working on so many different things. So if you go from the chip design side, you have all the large language model assisted CADE. So this spread from simulation verification to APR, all kinds of ways where it used to be require experienced semiconductor engineers to run the software. Now you have startups creating tools that can help the engineers do that. Alternative computing, different kind of chips doing analog, optical, and quantum computing. Those are also the kind of things that were very interesting. If you move to the manufacturing side, now you're seeing startups. Actually, there are startups building new lithography technology, which is kind of crazy. And it's not just optical lithography, but also non-optical lithography for the next 20, 30 years. There's also new ways of processing. So single layer, atomic layer deposition startups also can be found in Europe surrounding IMAC. New chips require new metrology to measure them, to test them. So new ways of like UV-based metrology and quantum-based metrology technology coming from Germany that we actually talked to. Then you move to the assembly side. So one of the key things today limiting AI is actually the access to high bandwidth memory, which is actually limited by the assembly capacity. But we found very, very good technologies that are working on new ways of assembly, high throughput. Obviously, there's a lot of startups working on interposer. So that's just one of the slides. So how does that map to Korea? So when I was in Silicon Valley, so this is my last slide. When I was in Silicon Valley, my two best friends in the company are both Korean. So one of them went to Seoul University, the other one went to Yonsei. Both of them finished their military training and came to the United States and got their PhD in Stanford and stayed in the US. So there's one day we were having the Korean barbecue. Oh, by the way, they schooled me on how to do barbecue. You know, apparently I've been doing barbecue the wrong way my whole life as an adult. So they told me that, so I asked them, so did you guys ever thought about going back to Korea, to start companies and all that? And they was like, no, before I even finished my question, they said, no. I mean, if I go back to Korea, I will work with large companies. I cannot create startups in Korea. That was obviously 15 years ago, right? So I think when I see how Europe transformed itself for all those research institutes, those PhD scientists that was able to create companies and transform the deep tech scene in Europe, I think there's a lot of potential in Korea, and I want to sell that idea to you. You also have some of the best world-class research institutes like GAIC, Seoul University, and Yonsei, and you also have all those talents that used to be locked inside Samsung, SK Hynix, Hyundai, LG. If you can create a new ecosystem environment for those people to unleash their potential and take risk, I think there's a lot of potential in this ecosystem. I'm a little bit over time, but I think that's fine.